Hello, my name is Kathy. I'm from the Daily Marker. I have a blog called the Daily Marker, and right now you're at my YouTube channel. So I am going to, I made this card, and at the very end I stuck this adorable bird from Tim Holtz. I cut it in two pieces and stuck it behind the jar. So today I'm using a couple different stamp sets. These two are from Paper Smooches. I love the sentiment. I'm so excited I wet my pants. This is a stitched rectangular die from Simon Says, and this ball jar is from Paper Smooches. So I already started coloring it because it's kind of large. I used BG01 and I'm just blending some of that color now. It's very basic coloring. Just put that color on any way you want. You can use any light color Copic marker that you have. I'm using BG 000, I believe, but you can use the 000 or 00 G. You can mix the really light colors together and just go ahead and put that color down anyway. Just cover the whole thing to help blend it. Then we're going to use some various ink. I've done this before. It's such a great tip. Speeds things up and gives it some nice texture. I've used the same rag for like 2 years. You just wet it generously. Make sure you put that lid on and then fluff up the pile on that and put it down on your jar. You can use your heat gun to stop the drying process and it'll leave you a little bit more texture. I did not do that. Mine wasn't plugged in. Now this is a hex chart from Sandy Alnack. This is a great way to choose colors and see how the color families make sense. She's been tweaking this forever, and mine was from last year, and I know she tweaked it more, so if you download it, yours will be a little bit different. I'm using this awesome stamp set from Clearly Biscotted. I love their flowers, and I got a big smudge here, but good thing this ball jar is going to cover it up. I will list all the supplies in the description, and you can also hop over to my blog to see thumbnails and get more information. So let's go ahead and get started. I love this graph paper background. You can ink up your stamp and make sure you're going to enjoy the two colors that you've selected before you get started. So I like the way these two blend. So I'm going to get started on my cardstock here. First, I'm laying down my lightest color. I'm a big believer you want a light, a medium, and a dark color, and they don't always need to be in numerical order, and I know Sandy believes that too. So I am coloring with my lightest color that I picked, and this time I'm not taking it all the way to the edge. I want to try and leave the tips of these petals a lighter color. So you can see I'm taking a 0 here, and I'm just kind of working the colorless blender ink on the tips of those petals because I really want to make sure I don't end up coloring them too much. I want them to be a little bit whiter. So I'm doing all the petals at the same time. And now I'm bringing in my medium color here, which is, it's hard to read on my screen. I think it's RV13. And again, everything will be listed in the supplies. I was helping my sister move yesterday and I shut my finger in the door, which was pretty painful. That's why you see my stylish Band-Aid here. So I'm now adding my middle color to each petal, and then I'm blending it out with the light color that I used. And you know, you don't have to put these lids on right away. I know some of you worry, oh no, she hasn't put a lid on a marker. So I'm going to go ahead and color this one flower, and then I might just super speed it up because I'm just going to be repeating the same thing. Now I'm kind of using some feathering strokes on the petals where you push down and then you lift up. I always describe it as kind of like sweeping. When you're sweeping, you push down and then you lift up. And if you have a light grip on your hand and use that same motion, pushing down and lifting up, you kind of get that feathering, and it just makes it easier to blend the colors. You can still have success if you feel like you haven't conquered the feathering. So go ahead, now I'm blending that out with my lighter color here, just working away around the petals. Now I'm taking that zero colorless blender and working the color back into the center of the petal. I want to keep those tips of the petals light. Now I'm taking my darker color and adding that again to the little nooks and crannies of this flower. Now later I'm going to add a darker color, you'll see. Here's a photo of the darker color I added to the little nooks, but I'll show that again. E07 is, I felt like I needed some more intense color. Now another thing great about this paper is you can have a little color chart. So I've colored all the little squares of the colors that I'll be using. And for my stems and leaves, I'm starting with a yellow, the lightest color, and I'll just be adding some darker color and blending. Somewhat basic. So I'm going to speed this up. But before I do, the darker color is kind of under the petals, and then I'll blend that out with the light color again. Okay, now I keep referring to my ball jar to see, okay, I don't need to color the very ends of those leaves. Now I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to use the Misket. There's also Frisket, and I'll link this in the supplies, but I like this because it's slightly tinted. You can see what surface you're covering. I have a wet wipe nearby because that's how I clean the brush, and shake it up really good. And then we're going to paint it on everything that I've colored because I want to stamp on top of it. So shake it up really good, dip your brush in, and you really want to be careful because if you go over the lines, it affects how it's stamped, and then when you color, I don't know, it just makes it a little more difficult, and it just doesn't look as finished. You know the old saying, haste makes waste. So it is worthwhile to take a little effort and to stay within the lines when you do this. When you're finished, you want to clean that brush right away. You can use a wet wipe and just keep cleaning the tip, and it works beautifully. It's worked great for me, and I hope it does for you too. Now I've gone ahead and I've stamped the same image on top of what we just covered with the liquid, and the ball jar works good. So I always like to check to make sure I did it right. Now I'm going to go ahead and color this other half of the group of flowers the exact same way. So if you want to watch that, I'm going to do a little clip of it, but speed it up. I don't want to waste your time. You've got a lot to do today. Now while I'm speeding this up, I hope you don't get dizzy. Just to recap, I'm using my lightest color first, and then I'm using my medium color to bring in some highlights, and then the darkest color in the center. And then I blend out the tip of the leaf with 0, the colorless blender. Now I'm going to use 3 colors. I like to combine the warm and the cool grays together when highlighting your image to make it stand out more. So I'm just doing a little color chart here. I'm trying to keep this video within a reasonable amount of time. So I'm doing some color swatches here, and then I'm going to start with my darkest color in the areas that I think have the most the least amount of light. So I'm only adding this this color, as you can see, just on certain areas of the petals and the leaves. And then I will add a medium warm gray, and then I will blend all those out with a cool gray. I like to use blues a lot, but today I decided to use some grays, warm and cool grays. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up until I start the next color. Now I've picked up my W3, my medium color, and I want to, since I'm shading the petals and the leaves, I want to shade the jar as well, or else it would look kind of odd. Even though this is a die cut, I'm doing this anyway. I hope you like the effect. Now I'm taking the medium color and I'm adding it to, I'm going over and next to the C5. And then I'm taking it around some of the areas where I didn't use any color yet, tracing around the image. So just experiment with this. It doesn't need to be a big deal. You could go around everything. You could go around part of it. It's not going to make a big difference. It's going to make your image pop. And don't worry, oh, I should have done this or should have done that. I mean, I'm not Sandy Alnack. I don't pay attention to where the light's coming from. I kind of guess a little bit and I don't worry about it. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up. Okie doke. So now I've picked up my lightest color, COO is what I picked today, and I'm going over the dark and the medium lines several times, as you can see. I really just kind of want to blur those lines out and fade them into the background. And then I'm carrying that around the other parts of the image where I didn't use any gray at all. And again, don't worry about it. You know, it's like when you're cooking, you add a few ingredients, sometimes you don't. So, not the best analogy. Now I noticed that there was a few areas I got my gray went into my petal there, so I just fixed that up by pushing some of that color out. Continuing around the image with my lightest background color, which is COO. So I'm going to speed that up and I'll be right back. I'm just continuing with my lightest color, blending the grays around this image. And then I'm going to do the same thing on my ball jar, and it looks like I'm ready to go. So first I want to do is remove the liquid. I want to remove it with a good eraser, and just make sure you erase all those bits and you're good to go. I've picked up I'm using the darkest red that I use and some twine, and I'm using it on some packaging material. I like to buy this big bolt of twine and then I custom color it. So you want to make sure you give it time to dry, and then I'm going to use some foam tape on the back, and that'll hold down my twine, and then I'm going to tie it in a bow. Very simple, very basic, but it's fun to do and kind of gives it that finishing touch. So just tie it in a knot. I've also used rock candy stickles on the twine after coloring it, and it makes it really stiff and looks fabulous. So if you have more time, you might want to try that. So while I mess around with this and finish this, I just wanted to let you know, in case you're new to my YouTube channel, starting June 1st, I'm having a coloring challenge for 30 days. It's called the 30-day coloring challenge. It's my second time for doing it, and it's really fun. So I hope you subscribe to the Daily Marker and you won't miss anything, and I'll have more information soon about the challenge. Thanks for stopping.